Okay, can we start our meeting? Welcome everyone to this special meeting on the 15th of March 2022. Apologies.
Apologies we've had from Amanda and from David. And nearly David, but not quite.
Hi David.
You escaped apologies, David.
Well done David, thanks. Declarations of interest. Myself on the shop.
Can I do the normal one? So for the last time, we said one county member, also avoiding predetermination on planning, but have now been advised that we don't necessarily have to leave the room, so I can remain within the room when planning is now discussed. And then I don't think parish hall is going to come up at all, so it's just the dispensation for the shop as well.
Can you take part in discussions on planning?
The advice is that I should not vote.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Jane?
Shareholder.
Shareholder. You mostly said shareholder.
Okay. All right. Let's start off with planning. 0723 00006 at 65 Brent Street. Who's doing that, Sarah?
I'll do that one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sorry?
There it is.
No, thank you. I did actually go and look at number 65A for a little while and then realised I was looking at the wrong property, but never mind, it looks quite similar, but I have looked at number 65 as well. Did you get a photograph from me?
I did, I couldn't open it, no.
Oh, okay. I thought it would be useful just to
I got it, but I couldn't open it.
No.
For some reason.
I'm sorry. Okay. I just thought it would be useful to see visibly what it currently looks like. Anyway, the application is an erection of first floor extension with 2 stories extension to the northeast and southwest elevations, and also the formation of a new vehicular access. So just looking through the application form, particularly of interest are the materials that are being used and the current materials that are forming the construction of the property as is. It's got for the roof, it's existing double Roman interlocking roof tiles. The proposal is reconstituted slate, blue black look. The walls, the existing walls are rendered block work painted white. Proposed rendered block work painted white to match existing. Windows, they're existing are UPVC white windows, and the proposal is aluminium coloured dark grey. The doors UPVC frames and doors, and again proposed aluminium coloured dark grey. Just in putting it in context, no trees or hedges within the proposed development are to be removed or within felling distance of the development. There is a proposed new vehicular access to and from the highway, and it would be useful. I mean, actually just have a look at the plan which shows what that looks like, because I only had a quick look at it on
So that would be...
it won't be the elevations necessarily. It might be it's an aerial view. I think it's that one, yeah.
That one there, I think.
Try that one.
Well, we can always have a look, go back to them anyway.
Yeah. No, it's not
No,
that.
it's not the
Oh,
one, is
no,
it?
it could be actually, probably is.
Could it be?
Yeah, you could probably see it. I don't know, I can't from here.
Right.
Is it not perfect? You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't quite work out how the new vehicular access was going to be formed. So if anyone, I think it's going to get in and out.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's 2.
Yeah,
So there is
already.
There is 2. Okay, I know there's one already. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So there's going to be a new vehicular access formed to the other side. Okay. There's no diversions or issues with public rights of way, no impact on existing car parking arrangements. It is visible from the public highway. They have sought assistance from the local authority in prior consultation. I don't know whether it's not come before us, has it? I didn't think it had. Yeah, I'm right in thinking that I couldn't find anything.
I'm aware of it.
No.
Doesn't ring any bells.
Okay, so it just had prior consultation, and the local planning officer had asked that they reconsider, and you'll see in a minute, actually let's have a look at it now, it's probably the next plan, go to the new elevation, yes, let's look at that one.
Tell us quite a lot, I think.
Yeah, so if you look at the front, you've got that large window at the front, and I think the suggestion, the planning officer stated that there was in principle that they wouldn't object, but there were concerns about the visual impact of the design on the character of the street scene and the wider landscape, and amendments were encouraged. And the planning submission was that they'd taken this into consideration, and they've reduced the amount of glazed area to the two-storey front extension. And I think that's stood out for me in the plans, as you can see. But the statement is quite clear that they have taken into consideration the concerns of the planning officer. And I think, yeah, it's visible from the public highway. So that's my observations from the application and having looked at it. It is flanked both sides by two-storey buildings. So you're actually next to it, 65A, which is also a single-storey bungalow. And then the side of both of the properties there are two-storey dwellings. So it's not out of keeping in terms of being two-storey. However, my observations when I first read it were very clear. It's a whole new redesign of the building. It is very close to the street frontage, and it appears to be very modern in terms of the material colour and the materials that are being used. It's quite different from what it is. That doesn't necessarily mean one way or another, but it's my observation. And it might be useful to go to look to see what it is existing in terms of the elevation, so we can just compare.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's significantly different.
You can pass that round if you
Oh,
want,
perfect. No,
because
that's really useful. Thank you.
It might disappear.
Yeah,
but
it's
if you
useful.
pass
I
it around.
just think it really helps me personally just to actually see it and visualise what it looks like, and then see how different it is. But that doesn't necessarily mean there's any sort of thought process behind that. So I welcome everyone else's observations in the application.
Well, it's a huge development. It totally changes the, if you like, the landscape. Well, not only the landscape, but that particular property. I know that I've got the terrace cottages in my mind, the red brick cottages.
Yeah.
What's the other side of it, David?
Split, you can,
Do you know Hazel's
you
house?
can move.
I've got that.
Right,
Yeah,
it's
yes,
Hazel's.
that's a bungalow. Similar bungalow.
Connie,
Elton.
do you know the Eltons? I think that's the next side
Yeah,
to it, the Eltons, and
it
then the
will
other side.
totally dominate and be out of keeping, really.
Possibly. I mean, I think it's very different to what it is, and that jumps out immediately. But it is, the houses either side, as I said, are two-storey, so the fact that it's two-storey, I think, is not necessarily.
Well, they're not either side. There's a bungalow.
There's two bungalows, 65A and 65, and there are two bungalows,
Yeah,
and then beyond that,
and
you
then
have got the two-storey.
yes, the
house there.
what's
The
it
Elton's
called?
one way, and then
This-
the
There's the driveway, and then the other red brick
Yeah.
yes,
cottage. I've forgotten what it's called now.
yes.
Yes. It's
I
a
just didn't want
major.
to look at it and think immediately, gosh,
Okay,
but you
true.
can't help but think it's just very different. Is that doesn't make it a concern? I think it's the modernity of it that it's quite modern in style, and if that's in keeping with the street scene, that would be my suggestion. That it might not be, but
John.
So, two questions from me. One, this issue of sort of grey or creamy white buildings reared its head at our last meeting. So that's my first observation, that this seems to be a bit of a grey area.
There's definitely a trend for that, isn't there?
It seems to be, yeah, it's definitely on trend. Whether it's on trend for Brent Knoll is up for interpretation. But and then secondly, just thoughts from the neighbours. I had a quick glance, but
there's
were there any thoughts from the neighbours?
I looked very briefly this morning,
Yeah.
and I looked
I can
yesterday,
see
and
nothing
there's
like this.
nothing that's come up. I
Nothing's-
checked just before, and there's nothing currently.
Okay.
It was registered on the 3rd of March, so they had if they were concerned, and it was comments about the 28th of March, but then they need to get a letter, don't they? I don't know, there's nothing there immediately. So,
I'd echo our chairman's opinions on that, or thoughts. It's a major change to what's
Major change.
there. It really is a major
Yes,
change.
John.
I was only going to say, in terms of comments, you need to be a little bit careful, because Sedgemoor, in terms of getting comments uploaded at the moment, is running
yeah.
slow.
So there may be comments.
So you can't guarantee that,
Yeah,
because they're not visible,
yeah.
that they haven't been made.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what Sedgemoor's after is the parish council's view, rather than because they could have approached the parish council to tell us what they think if they wanted to, but some don't. I mean, whether you can put the elevations back up of what's proposed. I mean, the sort of things that you've raised of character and certainly that front porch.
Yeah.
If you think about the rest of the character of the street, it's fairly flat. If you saw most of the properties, they're all fairly traditional, and that's quite radical.
When we did 2 Brent Street, and also when we considered Station Road, we did ask features that are contained within the houses within the village to be built into that development. And this is something that is really out of character, and it is a legitimate complaint that we can register against this, that its design is just not in keeping.
The only thing I'd say, Bob, is that I always look at the consulting parties, just not necessarily to, everyone's got their own view, but I think if they're right next door, it might just give you an insight into some issues that you can't see when you go and view it and stuff.
What I'm saying is exactly that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't take notice of what the neighbours have said, it's just that don't assume because there aren't neighbour comments that there aren't neighbour comments. It just might mean they're in the system and working their way through.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is us to look at this planning application as it stands at the moment. In my interpretation is that it is not in keeping. I realise that somebody wants to build a home that is suitable for them, but I think we should say, well, hang on a minute, it needs to reflect something that's within our own village already. You know, there is a bit of tradition. It depends how you want to see your village grow over the years. If you want to see it grown like that, then that's okay. But I think we should try to have a little bit of control, else you'll get somebody building the next building even worse. So that would be my position, but I'm open to suggestions here and points of view. Tracy, any thoughts?
My concern is more the property facing it, because they've been used to facing a bungalow and suddenly they're facing a house, and the impact of that.
Well, again, I mean, you could say, well, it's an overdevelopment and not in keeping.
What is opposite?
Cottage. Yes.
Yeah.
John, any further thoughts?
No, I think.
Okay, Melina?
It certainly isn't in keeping with the rest of the street.
Okay. Malcolm?
No, I tend to agree with you.
Okay. Jane?
Yeah, I do agree. Maybe if they could just change the front entrance bit, make it more in keeping, more.
Okay. David?
Yeah, I think most things been mentioned.
Okay. I can still ask you, can't I?
Yeah, I've got nothing to add in terms of, but I think in terms of the character of the street scene, that would be
Yes.
the issue.
It seems then that the proposal would be that this application is rejected on the basis that is, one, not in keeping with the village and street scene, and also possibly an overdevelopment of a small area. And for those reasons I would put that proposal. Do I have a second for that? Sarah? All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Owen.
Can I just say I'm
Yes.
abstaining because I can't vote, because if I vote then I'm
No,
in trouble.
I'm sorry,
So I'm just being directed, I'm abstaining.
Okay. 0723 00007. Jane, do you want to
If I may,
talk
please.
us through it?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Off you go.
If you go to sleep, that's fine. Chairman, councillors, thank you for giving me this opportunity to explain the proposed application. As you're aware, we submitted an application before when the parish council had concerns regarding the proposed dwelling. Taking those concerns into consideration, we worked with the planners to finalise the design which they agreed was acceptable. And for this application, we have added amendment by repositioning the garage further back into the site, which improves the parking and turning and makes the garage subordinate to the dwelling. Unfortunately, the previous planning application was refused on highway grounds only, as they deemed the access unacceptable. The refusal was from highways does not take into consideration the use of the track down to Journey's End, this having been in use since the railway station was built. For many years, this has been in constant use for the station and after its closure for the 3 remaining dwellings. We employed an independent highways consultant, states the proposed dwelling would be accessed via an existing track without any recorded personal injuries, collisions on the access track or at its junction with Station Road in at least the last 22 years despite daily use. While the width and angle of the access track where it meets Station Road is below the standard when compared to what may be expected from the provisions of a new access track serving 4 dwellings, the existing arrangement has operated in this way without incident for many years, indicating that it is safe and suitable. Support from the local authorities for the development scheme can be forthcoming, given the statements made in both Manual for Streets and Manual for Streets 2, which reflect a more balanced approach to applying highway safety standards that was not present when the previous 2 planning submissions on the same site were made. It is contended that the sections set out in the Somerset County Council Standing Advice document are not relevant in this case because this proposal seeks the use of an existing access track rather than a new entrance or the alteration of a driveway. Accordingly, given the informed arguments and evidence presented in this report, it is considered that there are no highway safety or access reasons that should prevent the local planning authority from supporting this planning application on highway grounds. This land is in with the development boundary and Miss Hughes wishes to return to the village, and the only way is to build a home for herself and her son on the only piece of land she owns. Somerset County Council Highways have not objected up to now, and I accept what Bob said about the applications getting in, but we would ask you as a committee to please support this application favourably, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jane. Before, just a matter of interest, would you like to, if we put the plan up, would you like to talk us through before, is Melina doing, are you doing
I am
this
doing
one?
this one.
Can you
It's fine if you,
Yeah, so if anything needs explaining, then I'm
as Jane is the architect,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
knows
No,
it,
absolutely.
she knows it
That
far better.
helps. I don't, of course it does.
Right, well that was the existing dwelling, which will show, you will see the garage on the right-hand side of the ground floor plan, which is, yes, that is, we've pulled it back from near the front. It was only a little bit near the front, nearly to the front before, so we pulled it away, and it pulls it from the elevation, so it should give you a better clear opening on that front. So we're because the plan is as we agreed with the planners. We took your views obviously in consideration at the time. So as far as we were concerned on the original planning application, the refusal was just back down to highways. The house was acceptable. So that's what we've worked on.
So these are the new plans now.
Yes.
So the
garage-
roadways across the top.
Yes, so you need to, yes. If
As you look at it, the
Yes.
garage will
Yeah.
then be on your left.
No,
On the right.
on the right.
On the
On the
left.
right,
It's-
left on the front. So there you go. Right, so if you can see it, you can see Journey's End written there, and to the right-hand side is the proposed plot. And then the red line takes you, and the query that came back from Highways was the angle that comes at the entrance. Yes, that's right. Thank you. But according to our Highways consultant, who is an ex-Somerset County Council Highways, he says that there has been no known accidents or registered accidents,
at all.
and it has been used constantly for many, many, many years, and so therefore, and it is an existing track. So although two are already used, three properties are using it now, he feels the additional property has no bearing on the use or additional use.
Was that where the old station was? Actually, that was the only access to the station,
Yes,
was it?
yes.
Oh, right, okay.
So many a horse and cart went up there many times, I'm sure.
I mean, I must admit, I was surprised. I mean, I've never known any accident
No.
being reported down in that area, because it makes you take care, because these are using the same exit and they're using the same exit, and Journey's End is using the same exit. So, okay, Jane, is that okay?
Is that okay? Are you happy with that?
Yeah,
You understand that?
You have Melina.
Yes, I'm happy with that. As Jane said, the concern was the access from highways, and it's a very thorough report. There have been no incidents reported.
And the garage has been
set
repositioned
back
and
to-
moved back. Okay.
Can I just ask, in terms of the development, how many car parking spaces are there?
There's a garage and there's enough car parking for another two.
And what was it originally? This was just a plot?
This was the garden. Yeah, there was actually a vegetable plot.
Okay,
Um,
so there's 3 cars extra.
Yeah, well, it can take
It can
3
take-
cars.
no, I appreciate
All right,
it.
but yes,
No, no,
yes,
I appreciate that.
yeah, but you'll have to have a difference.
No, no, that's fine.
And also,
Yeah.
this, my client used to live at Journey's End,
Yeah.
and her son, so it was a parents' home. So the additional cars aren't additional, and they're going to be additional anyway, so just
Yeah.
say always there originally, they've been there all
They
the
were
time,
there.
so,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
that's
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, Bob?
Could I ask, is there a block plan that shows where the new dwelling is?
There should be a plan, there should be a site plan should tell you. Yes, there you go.
There we are.
All right, so the left-hand side is the outline of, actually there's probably a smaller plot, if you go to that one's easier to look at. Journey's End on the left.
And the concern was definitely in highways, it wasn't about access and egress into the property, it was just about the...
Yeah.
Exiting onto
Exiting.
stationary.
Exiting out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he said that, you know, it wasn't acceptable.
And the angle and everything, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
But actually-
Back in. Okay.
Yes, yeah, he was, yeah, but it is an existing track.
Yes,
Bob.
nice.
Could I just I mean, in terms of the improvements, obviously, the setting back the garage, you can see, I know one of the concerns that was raised in some of the discussions before was the impact on the bungalow next
That's
door.
right.
By setting
Yes.
that back, you've now created that subservience to
Yes.
the next door one.
Yeah.
And in terms of the number of car parking spaces, county would actually require a certain number of parking spaces per dwelling.
They will need 3.
Exactly, so you have to do the 3
Yes.
in order to meet the standard, but at the same time they're then saying it's too many to come out of the junction, so whichever way the developer had gone, they were going to be criticised one way or the other. So.
Okay, John?
Can I just ask, is it actually possible to swing a car into that gate?
That's an idea.
Because I'm looking at that and I know the area. Has that been proven or done that it is possible to swing a car into that gate?
There's enough depth, there should be enough depth from across, because as long as it's 6 metres across the width of the track, I know there's a grass verge, but obviously we'll be coming in over a hard standing at the beginning.
Yeah.
That you should be able to do it within the 6 metres, like any car park would be, as such. That's no, you know, it's you should be able to go in there. But if it concerns you, I'm happy, and I'm sure my client would be happy to push over slightly or bring the gate slightly in. I mean, if that's, you know, if you have observations, then we're more than happy to do something to.
I think that's something I always look at, isn't it? But
Yeah.
that's my issue.
Yeah,
Access and egress into the...
There's always a solution to each problem,
Yeah.
but that looks like a particularly tight turn to me.
I could, you know, we can change it if you're not comfortable with it. I don't personally, I don't have any problems, but I mean, you know, that's,
Well, it has been designed, and
so, you know,
Jane is familiar with these sort of things and done many developments. Any observations? Malcolm?
No.
No? Jane? David? Bob? Evening.
Was anyone the same in terms of whether it's tight or not? The neighbouring one
it's the same.
is basically the same.
The same,
the circle
exactly the
envelope,
same.
So
Yeah. In fact, the other two properties have the same scenario. Those that go down there. Sarah, any observations? Melina, any further? Sarah? Sorry, Tracy. Beg your pardon. No. John, anything else?
Just from memory from when we discussed it, we also, I think, certain people felt that it was an overdevelopment of the space. From memory, that we felt that there was an overdevelopment of that size of house on that plot, which is a lovely allotment. I do see it as I go across the bridge. It's a lovely vegetable and fruit allotment at the moment. So, yeah, it's.
I don't think that's grounds for
allotment.
losing an early to
Sadly
refuse a
not.
planning
Sadly
application.
not.
Thank you. Okay, it seems that everyone's happy with this particular proposal and redevelopment, and we are comfortable, by the sound of it, with the highways, our interpretation of the highways and the client's survey and study into the any potential highway problems. We've seen that they've gone to the effort of listening to our concerns last time and repositioning the garage backwards to enable more space to be generated. So it seems to me that we are going to, I would propose, accept this on the basis of, how can we say, we have no objections, or we just support it on the basis of additional accommodation that is required in the village.
Additional accommodations,
Yeah.
okay.
That would be my proposal. Seconder?
if I might just comment, in terms of the reasons, you act almost similar to or the opposite of what you said on the last application, which is if you think this is in character with that area and that it does work, that those are the sort of things you can say as to why you're supporting it.
Well, I believe it's in character with the area and in character with Brent Knoll. Those would be my proposals. Do I have a seconder for that? Melina, thank you. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Well done. Thank you.
Can I again say
Oh,
I'm abstaining? Sorry, but I've got to register the fact I'm abstaining. Sorry.
Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I'll let you get on with the business. Thank you.
This one will go with me, and you may have comments to make to me. Consider the payment to a local contractor for deferred from the previous meeting, and also a quotation from the same contractor for work on the footpath near the reservoir. It's two matters. We've had an invoice from Adrian Criddle, as you know, for removing, essentially there was a lot of old wire in part of the path, and I agreed with, and without your permission, so it's totally down to me, I didn't agree a final sum, but like I dealt with other landowners like Karen on the Horsefield and Sally Wingate on her fields when we did the work, I do it by, or we've done it by, friendship and negotiation and helping each other over